Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Those who are new here, welcome. You're hanging out with me, S, and today is the 1st of March. Okay, I'll be releasing this on the 1st of March. So first of all, today marks 1 year since I started this YouTube channel, and yeah, I'm excited. Happy birthday to my channel. Happy birthday. So yeah, I know I was never consistent last year because last year was just another drama after drama after drama. But anyway, I even started this channel with the intention of showcasing other things, but God had his own purpose for this channel. That's why we're here today. And today is World Endometriosis Day, and the whole of March is World Endometriosis Awareness Month. So I know y'all wondering, some of you wondering, what is endometriosis? So that's what I'll be talking about today. And please help me spread the awareness by sharing this video, liking this video, commenting, and yeah, so stay tuned for more. Welcome back. So I'll start by defining what endometriosis is, and I'll do it in the easiest way. I'll try to do it in the easiest way possible. So endometriosis is a condition whereby the lining of the uterus, also known as the endometrial tissue, is found, or it grows in another part of the body outside the uterus. So every month, in case the egg of the female isn't fertilized, menstruation takes place. So menstruation is the shedding of the lining of the uterus. So that's what menses are. So what happens is this tissue has grown in another part of the body. It also bleeds during menstruation. So the problem comes whereby it has no way out of the body. So it becomes trapped where it has grown, and it forms lesions, cysts, or adhesions. Adhesions are like the binding of organs. Anyway, I've tried. So let me just give you the definition from the internet. And endometriosis is a condition resulting from the appearance of endometrial tissue, which is the tissue that lines the uterus. The appearance of endometrial tissue outside the uterus and causing chronic pelvic pain, especially associated with menstruation. So this tissue acts like regular uterine tissue does during your period. It will break apart and bleed at the end of the cycle. But since this blood has nowhere to go, it becomes trapped and cause the surrounding areas to inflame or swell. So this may later result in the formation of scar tissue such as cysts and adhesions, in which tissue binds the affected organs together. Yeah, so that's basically it for those who have no idea what endometriosis is. Endometriosis is mainly found in areas or in organs around the pelvic area, but it can also be found in other organs, but this is usually rare. And I'll just give you like places where endometriosis can develop. So some of the places where endometriosis can develop include the fallopian tubes, outside and back of the uterus, ovaries, vagina, peritoneum. Peritoneum is the lining of your abdomen and pelvis. It can also be found in the bladder and ureters, intestines, rectum, appendix, cervix, and the diaphragm. The diaphragm is a muscle near the bottom of your chest that plays an important role in breathing. So mainly the diaphragm is found here, for those who have forgotten biology. Endometriosis is so common because studies show that it affects 1 in every 10 women in their childbearing years, that is between the age of 15 to 44. And that means that around 190 million of the population in the world have endometriosis. So that is mainly women. Despite this, very little is known about endometriosis, and it takes an average of almost 10 years to be diagnosed. And this is because endometriosis is very different from everyone. And some women have no symptoms at all, and some women have just very different symptoms. It varies from woman to woman. That's why it's so hard to know what endometriosis is. And it also has quite similar symptoms to PID. PID is pelvic inflammatory disease. It also has similar symptoms to ovarian cysts and also irritable bowel syndrome. So let's move on to the causes of endometriosis. So endometriosis is an idiopathic condition, and this means that there is no known cause of endometriosis. However, I will share with you some of the risk factors that lead to endometriosis. And this includes if a female in your family has it, so it is kind of hereditary. Another risk factor is when you have an abnormal uterus, which is diagnosed by a doctor. If you start early menstruation before the age of 11, it can end up causing endometriosis. If you also have shorter menstrual cycles, which are less than 27 days on average, there is a risk that is a risk factor. And also if you have heavy menstrual periods lasting more than 7 days. So I'll now share with you the symptoms of endometriosis. And as we've seen earlier, endometriosis is highly connected to menstruation. And one of the main symptoms of endometriosis is painful periods. So I guess this is the part where I'll start sharing my story. And I'll start from way back when I started my menses. I know maybe it might be irrelevant, but I don't know. Let me just share. So I started my menses a day before my 13th birthday, way back. I don't know how many years ago. Anywho, and during my first years of menstruation or menstruating, like I used to have very irregular periods. They will come after 3 months, 4 months, and this is very normal. In the beginning, like it's normal for someone to have irregular periods. So they became regular around maybe my last year of high school. Then I was around 16 or 17. I can't remember. Yeah, but back then I don't remember having any painful periods or cramps. If I had cramps, maybe they were very mild. So I guess I started having painful cramps around like after high school, I guess. And to me, I did not feel like they were so painful because the first person to just like make me start questioning my periods or my cramps was my mom. And I remember her telling me that it's not normal for someone to have painful periods. And for me, I just was like, I was kind of ignorant at that moment because I felt like having painful periods have been so normalized by the society that those who never have cramps or painful periods, like it's like you're God's chosen, God's favorite. Because how painful is painful? Some people are pain intolerant, so they can be feeling a lot of pain, but still they'll just be strong there. And some people, even the slightest of a pain is just a nuisance to them. So yeah, I'm here also to tell you today that it is not normal to have painful periods. I know some of you are wondering what is painful periods. So I'll just share some of the signs of what is not normal, and then I'll go back to my story. So period pain is not normal when it lasts more than 1 to 2 days of each cycle. If gentle stretching or movement doesn't relieve it, if you feel like you're going to be sick or pass out, it stops you from work, school, or study. Over-the-counter pain relief options don't assist. You are unable to participate in your normal activities due to pain. So forgive the cock in the background. I live in the outskirts of the city, so bear with me, guys, bear with me. So the recent years is when I started being keen with what's happening. with my body. And something I noticed is that during my first days of menstruation, I have abdominal cramps, leg cramps, shortness of breath, sometimes migraines, sometimes I'll just feel dizzy and weak. And I used to have like, I still have anyway, I still do have like major back pains. So I usually dread my first days of menstruation, but the symptoms usually become lesser as the days go by. So I even remember there's a day I got into trouble because of menstruating. And I remember it was like 2 years ago. Yeah, exactly 2 years ago, Feb 2021. Yeah. So it was my first day of internship. And I remember waking up that day and I started my menses that morning. And something told me like I shouldn't show up because we have been given a 2 week period to show up. But since I had put a lot of work and I had prepared myself mentally to going outside, and people who know me very well, like before I go outside, I must prepare myself mentally, physically, like days to. And I get into trouble with so many people who like plan things last minute and then I don't show up or I just start complaining about it. Like if you want to meet me, if you want to see me, please tell me days too so that I can prepare myself. Like I'm not an outdoor person as much. I just prefer staying indoors. So anyway, back to this morning. I've woken up, I'm starting my period, I need to show up to work. So anyway, I just went ahead and went to my internship. And so I arrived there and then I was sent to the department where I'd been deployed and to meet the HOD. So I go to that department, I meet the secretary. She tells me the HOD is not around, so she just told me to stick around for some moment or some minutes, or maybe the whole day, I guess the whole day. And I remember that moment now the symptoms started kicking in. And I remember being very dizzy. Like I just felt like I could pass out any minute. But I still kept to myself. I didn't say anything. So I struggled there for a while, for like hours, like almost like 4 hours. It reached a point where I was like, hey, I can't do this anymore. So I had to tell the secretary. So I explained to her very nicely, like, you know what, I usually have bad menses and bad cramps. So right now I'm not feeling well at all. So it was on a Friday, I remember. So I told her, allow me to leave, then I'll come on Monday when the HOD is around. So she was like, kumbe you're those people who have bad cramps. And we even laughed about it, I remember. So she allowed me to go home. And then that was the first time seeing her. So the next time I saw her was like 2 weeks later because she went for a leave or something. Then she comes back. She starts talking bad about me. That I have a bad attitude. I don't know what. So I just remember asking myself, like, what did I do to her? At that moment, I was so sick. And I tried to talk to her in the nicest way possible. So I just came to know that like women were just our own enemies, but the ones who like lead to the downfall of other women just because maybe of jealousy or something of the sort. Even recently about the Gloria Oroba's drama, the MP. Like she was just trying to demonstrate something about period poverty and stuff like that. And the first person to even just shame her was a woman. So it's time we change this narrative. But they shout out to Gloria or Robert, like she's such a bold woman. I don't think I can even do something like that. Shout out to her. Anyway, I digressed a little bit, so back to my story. And this is okay, let's move forward to the place or to the time when I started experiencing endometriosis symptoms. So it was around June last year, June 2022, the beginning of June 2022. So I remember I started feeling some cramps, and I usually have cramps during ovulation, either 1 or 2 days, and during my menses only. That's the only time I usually have cramps. And sometimes it's occasionally, like not every month I usually have cramps during ovulation or during like, yeah. So I remember it was 1 week after ovulation and 1 week before my period, and I started experiencing cramps. So at first it was mild. The first day it was mild, so I just ignored it. But I was just like, it's not making any sense right now. Anyway, so I ignored it. The next day it became much worse. And I also ignored because I was just like, maybe I'm ovulating twice this month and I don't know. So the second day, I ignored it. The third day now it became worse. And I remember at that point I was feeling some sharp pain on my right pelvic side. And that whole night I did not sleep. And first of all, I usually live alone. So during that period, like my mom was around. She had come to visit. So I remember now telling her that I am feeling so bad. And the first thing she said was like, I told you, Esther, before, like, you should not be having painful periods. And at that moment, I'm like, it's not about periods at this moment because I'm not in my menses. I'm not ovulating. So I'm just like, it does not make sense. So it's like she knew from the beginning. She knew all these things. But again, I was ignorant. Or maybe I was just in denial. Anywho, so other symptoms I was experiencing during that moment was like my stomach was so bloated. I can't say it was constipation. Like I had just the feeling, not the urge, the feeling of going to just like empty my stomach, like just go for a long call, but nothing was happening. Like my stomach was so bloated. So the only way out was just vomiting. I puked everything I had eaten. I thought it was something to do with my digestive system. So I was like, it has nothing to do with my periods. And I remember Googling symptoms as anybody else. You know, when you start feeling bad, you start Googling symptoms instead of going to the hospital. So I started Googling my symptoms. Anything to do with reproductive like diseases, I was just rolling them out. I was like, no, nothing to do with this. So the only like disease or the only condition that was close to my symptoms was appendicitis. So appendicitis is the like inflammation of the appendix. And anything to do with the appendix is emergency. So it needs urgent care. So I remember I was like, you know what? I guess it was during the weekend. So I was like, on Monday, I'm going to the hospital. And I'm not a hospital person, honestly. I rarely go to the hospital because I'm rarely sick. And I thank God for that. So this time I was like, I have to go. And so I went to the hospital on Monday. First of all, the first thing they asked me was like, when was the last time you had your period? So I'm like, again, you're asking me about my periods. What is this? So yeah, I told them. And they tested my urine, they tested for pregnancy, tested for UTI, tested for like, you know, anything to do with the kidney or stuff like that. So the results come back. The doctor is like, you do not have appendicitis. You're not pregnant. Okay, they'll just literally the thing they said at that moment was like, we just see white blood cells in your urine, so meaning maybe there's an inflammation somewhere. So they were like, right now maybe it's inflammation of the bladder, and that's somewhat close to UTI. And I remember that moment I had no UTI symptoms. I had no UTI symptoms at all. So they gave me antibiotics and painkillers, and then they told me if the symptoms don't go away, I should go for a pelvic exam. So went back home. I still wasn't satisfied with those results. I wasn't satisfied. I was like, Anyway, I went back home, took the medicines. So during that week now, that's when I was having my menses, and I remember they were so painful. I even used to feel some sharp pain here at the chest. So I guess that was the diaphragm being affected or something of the sort. And also, okay, finally I started going to the toilet. I started going for long calls because it's during my period, and my stool are loose. So yeah. So I remember when I'm going to the toilet, I used to feel some sharp pain in my rectum. I don't know if it's not even rectum, like the lower back of my back. Yeah. I used to feel like someone is just like stabbing me. And that is another symptom, by the way, for endometriosis. Anyway, finished the medicines, finished my periods. The next week, now the symptoms now. Okay, first of all, the pain kind of subsided. It never went away. The pain subsided, but it never went away at all. So fast forward to the week after my period, I finished my medicine, and now the symptoms come back full force. I'm having a backache. My legs are cramping. I remember that moment I could not walk. Let me tell you, like I was walking like a shushu. I had to hold on to something to walk, and it has never been like that, by the way. Never ever. So I was like, why am I having my menstruation symptoms a week after menstruating? It just didn't make sense at that moment. And I felt some fever. I was having high fever. Let me tell you, I was just feeling like my whole body was just crumbling right before my sight. I was like, I have never felt this way before. So at that moment, I was like, could it be COVID? Because COVID also just makes you tired and just worn out. So I just couldn't understand. Again, my mom insisted it is something to do with my menstruation. So for her, she did not know the name of what's happening, the name of the disease, but she knew exactly what it is. So she insisted we should go to a gynecologist. I'm still in denial at that moment. So even when I was Googling my symptoms, the word endometriosis would show up, but I could ignore it because I was just like, there's no way I have endometriosis. I did not know what endometriosis is because the first time I ever heard of endometriosis was with Jambi Koikai. And for her, she said like her symptoms were like painful cramps and painful periods only, you know. And the second time I heard of endometriosis was with Corazon Komboka. And she said for her, it just happened to her once where she collapsed. She was having like stomachache, and then she collapsed, and then she was taken to hospital, and then the pain went away. So for me, yeah, my pain is still here. Symptoms are just adding up and adding up. Like I was bedridden for some days. Honestly, I couldn't do anything. So I insisted I want to go back to the hospital. So I went to another hospital because I'm like, I don't trust this hospital. I went to another hospital, did the same tests, still asking me if I'm pregnant, blah blah blah. Same results. So I was given antibiotics again and painkillers. So I'm like, will I keep on taking antibiotics? Doesn't make sense. Anyway, so my mom later just brought me herbal medicine, like traditional medicine, and trust me, they made a big difference. My energy came back, and I could now start doing chores in the house. And thank God, during that period I had no job because I don't know how I could have survived with a job. I don't know what excuse I could have given, So at that point, like, my mom was like, even if you go to hospital, like, you won't be told what this is. And she was right. She was just right about everything. And I don't know why I doubted her from the start. So anyway, still wasn't satisfied with the second hospital. I went to another one. Now this time I was like, you need to do an ultrasound. So they did the same test. They added now H. pylori test. Everything came out negative. Went for the ultrasound. it was a woman now doing the ultrasound. She's like, I'm not seeing anything, like there's nothing here. So thank God I had no like cysts or fibroids or anything like that. So good to go. And I'll just like share with you the diagnosis of how's it called, of endometriosis, and how an endometriosis is diagnosed is by either a pelvic exam, and this is when your doctor might be able to feel cysts or scars behind your uterus. Another diagnosis for Nini is imaging tests, and that includes an ultrasound, a CT scan, or an MRI that can make detailed pictures of your organs. Another diagnosis is laparoscopy, and here a doctor makes a small cut in your belly and inserts a device with a camera into your organs to see if there are any lesions or those two cysts or anything to do with endometriosis. And this laparoscopy is very expensive, and by the time you're referred to do a laparoscopy, it's like 10 years later. So very few people are lucky, by the way, to be sent to do a laparoscopy. Hey, anyway, so the final like way of diagnosis is biopsy. So yeah, your doctor takes a sample of tissue, often during a laparoscopy, and a specialist looks at it under a microscope to confirm diagnosis. So for me, after the ultrasound, nothing was seen and stuff like that. So I decided like there's no pressure, because at least there are no cysts. Cysts are also dangerous, so there are no cysts. So maybe my endometriosis is in a very like mild stage, and there are usually like 4 stages of endometriosis: stage 1 to stage 4. So stage 1 and 2, it's very mild. Stage 3 and 4, it's when it's dangerous. And yeah, and the amount of pain you're feeling doesn't mean that you're in a very bad state. Like a person with stage 1 endometriosis can be feeling more pain than a person with stage 4 endometriosis. Again, that's why it's so difficult to diagnose this disease. It's so difficult, to know if you have it, because symptoms are different for everyone. So let me share with you the symptoms that I found on the internet on endometriosis. So there's this narrative that endometriosis is just like painful cramps, like I also thought, but it's more than that. And also some women have no symptoms, remember that. So one of the symptoms, and the major one, is painful periods, known as dysmenorrhea. So these painful periods include abdominal pain, leg cramps, low back pain that can extend to the week after your period. So another symptom is pain with intercourse, and that is so true, because at that moment when you're having pelvic pain, like you do not want any type of pressure there. So for me, I have to forgo some other like, some other positions, because it's painful. Don't kill me. Anyway, another symptom is pain with bowel movements or urination. So sometimes I experience this, and sometimes that pain, like I guess that's why it was confused with UTI, because sometimes during when I'm almost menstruating or during my menstruation, I usually have like those UTI symptoms, but after menstruation they go away. I don't know why. Oh, it's endometriosis. Sorry. So another symptom is chronic pelvic pain. So again, it's different from everyone. So some people, the pain goes away. For me, since June 2022, since I started experiencing these symptoms, my pelvic pain has never gone away. Sometimes it subsides, and sometimes it becomes like extreme. So there's no point where it's just gone away. Like I still feel the pain till now. Another symptom is extreme fatigue or low energy. And let me tell you, sometimes like it say that people with endometriosis experience twice the fatigue normal people experience. And sometimes I can just wake up, I haven't done anything in the previous day, I haven't done anything like tedious, but the fatigue that I wake up with, like, you just don't feel like doing anything, or yeah, it's just, you're just tired for no reason. So another symptom is food intolerance, and this can lead to irritable bowel syndrome, which is known as constipation. Till now, I struggle with this because there's some types of food I had to forgo completely. And how you know which type of foods to forgo is you to monitor yourself. If you eat like this food, do you feel like some irritation? Where I come from, we love tea. We love tea. And I remember during those first days when I was monitoring myself on what to eat and what not to eat, like I noticed that tea was becoming irritant to me. Like it used to give me digestive problems. And I was so sad at that moment that I have to let go of tea. I was so sad until I came across a video where like it showed that if you're having trouble like digesting the normal milk, you can try lactose-free milk. So I was like, I was wishing that the lactose-free milk works. And who is God, it worked. And now I use lactose-free milk and it does not give me any digestive problems. And also about constipation, like those first days, let me tell you, I remember there's a day I stayed a whole hour in the toilet just trying to get my stool out. Let me tell you, I cried. I cried. The moment I got out of that toilet, let me tell you, all my strength was gone. Gone. And to change that, I started taking now high fiber foods, anything wholemeal and stuff like that. And they've really helped me, by the way. Nowadays, I don't experience constipation as much, honestly. So the next symptom is bloating, and this is known as the endobelly because the belly is kind of big and you look like someone you're 5 months pregnant, yet you're not pregnant. So another symptom is excessive bleeding, and this you may experience occasional heavy menstrual periods or bleeding between periods. So for me, I haven't been able to experience this. I just like menstruate for 5 days and it's normal period. Like I haven't experienced this. The last symptom is infertility. And yes, it is possible to get pregnant when you have endometriosis, but endometriosis is the leading cause of infertility in women right now. Like 50% of women who are infertile, it has been caused by endometriosis. And yeah, also another thing, like women who have endometriosis have a high chance of miscarriages. And yeah, it's that sad. So for me, I don't know if I'm infertile yet. I haven't started like trying to get a baby, but I just hope I don't have it hard. Honestly, that's the thing that I'm scared about. Maybe I can get pregnant, but can I carry that baby to 9 months? I don't know. So let's go to the treatment of endometriosis. So far there is no cure for endometriosis. Endometriosis can only be managed either naturally or medically. And it is also possible for endometriosis symptoms to go away, by the way, on their own. And this happens mostly if you change your lifestyle to a more healthy lifestyle. So for me, I decided to go the natural way. So like occasionally I take herbal medicine, like after 2 months or 3 months. Also, I've been able to change my diet, not completely because you can't move from 0 to 100 real quick. Like the body will also be in shock and it can give you no problems. So I'm trying so hard to eat healthy and to change my diet and to eat the right foods. And again, there's no like specific diet for people with endometriosis because people have it differently. So for me that has IBS, it's different from someone who doesn't have IBS, because there's some foods I can't eat, but the person who has no IBS can eat. I'll just share with you something general. And people with endometriosis need to eat a diet that's primarily plant-based and full of vitamins and minerals. So some of the things you can eat are fruits and vegetables. You should also avoid processed foods, and this is mostly junk foods. Eat more of fibrous foods such as legumes and whole grains. Eating foods rich in omega-3 fatty acids such as salmon and sardines. Sardines are omega, and nuts. And also eating antioxidant rich foods. Also, I read somewhere vitamin D helps with reducing inflammation, and so it's important to either take vitamin D through supplements or foods, or just kwenda kuota jua. Let the sun hit your body, hit your skin. They're like 9 to 10 sunlight. Yeah, it's very essential, by the way. And I also noticed during the cold season, my symptoms are usually more intense than during hot season. So the sun does a lot of difference. And also you need to avoid alcohol and caffeine. Caffeine are things like coffee. Avoid taking coffee in high amounts if you have endometriosis. Another thing I've been able to try to do and that helps is exercising. And it's low intensity exercise. It's not like going to the gym, lifting and stuff like that, because your body is still weak. So exercises that are suitable for people with endometriosis are things like yoga and Pilates, or even just walking. For me, I walk. I try to walk and take as much steps as possible in a day. So I'm trying to get there, because I'm not an exercise person. So I'm really trying. So there's also another controversy that pregnancy can heal endometriosis. I don't know how true is that until I get pregnant and, later explain to you. Maybe I'll just give you this feedback later. But some people say pregnancy healed their endometriosis, because what happens during pregnancy is that at that time you're not menstruating, so it can ease the symptoms. But now after giving birth, I don't know now what happens after that, because now you'll be back to menstruating. So I'll have to try to give you the feedback. Endometriosis can be treated medically by pain medicine, and this includes over-the-counter pain relievers, such as non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs known as the NSAIDs. And examples of these are Brufen. Again, it doesn't work for everyone. Like for me, painkillers don't work for me. It's a dead end. So if that doesn't work, there's also hormonal therapy, which lowers the amount of estrogen your body creates, and this eases symptoms. And examples of this hormonal therapy are birth control pills, patches, progesterone, only contraceptives. And so for me, I did not want to go the contraceptive way, because they affect my body too much. So the last treatment option is surgery, and this is to take out as much of the affected tissue as possible. So surgery is also helpful if you've developed cysts. So for me, I haven't developed cysts yet, so I can't go for surgery. And the surgery for removing endometriosis is very expensive. Very few people can afford that. So again, it's tough. So in most severe cases, a hysterectomy is recommended to take out your ovaries, uterus, and cervix. I hope I don't reach that point. So I'd like to share a few experiences of people living with endometriosis that I found online, of how it feels like. So there's one person who says, Having endometriosis isn't just staying at home in bed all day. It's getting up to take your medication, trying to make nutritious meals, having a shower and almost collapsing, heating up your heat packs, going to the toilet countless times a day, trying to get housework done but your body not allowing it, making sure you get outside, trying to exercise, fitting in appointments, trying to rest again but feeling like a failure, trying to look for jobs but wondering how anyone will hire you when your body won't even let you live. So that's one. Another one is so endometriosis feels like a trillion tiny popped blisters all rubbing together inside my pelvic cavity and abdomen every time I move or breathe. It's the endobelly that makes me look 5 months pregnant and the anxiety that comes with that alone. It's the internal pressure that feels like my insides are trying to escape my body. It's the random stabbing pains that feel like something is trying to dig its way out of me. It's the constant nausea and belly groans when you just can't eat. It's the pain traveling down my legs, so I question if I can hold my own weight. It's the chronic fatigue that comes with insomnia. It's brain fog that suddenly ends a conversation or stops me in my tracks at work. It's the frustration of constantly measuring your energy levels and trying to hit the rest life balance. It's grieving the person you are and learning to love the person you're fighting to become. It's feeling unlucky. It's feeling lucky I've got great support and I've always been believed. It's feeling empowered because I've survived every one of the days I thought I couldn't. It's the feeling of self-love and strength because I am enough. Endo is not the end of me. It's putting my trust in God because I know his plan for me is bigger than this. It's feeling thankful for the little things. It's getting back up every time I'm knocked down. So those are just some of the experiences people share, and yeah. So we've come to the end of the video and I'm glad I've been able to share my story, and let's keep on spreading awareness on this condition for the month. So please share this video widely. And if you found this video useful and you enjoyed this video, kindly give it a thumbs up, please. Thumbs up. To those endo warriors out there, keep being strong, keep on fighting this. You're not alone. We're in this together. And yeah, those who haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to my channel. And yeah, see you next time. Have a great month ahead, have a great week ahead, have a great day ahead. And yeah, goodbye. Bye.